Hey, it's Sarah Bakri, and you are watching She's All That, the online show that celebrates, inspires, and empowers women. Welcome once again, and thank you for tuning in. Can anyone be a leader? Do you know and do you have what it takes to be a good leader? Are you struggling to communicate your core values with your team? In today's episode, you will discover how to lead your team into victory. What's the one characteristic that every leader should have? And what's the one mistake that most leaders are making frequently? We also have a special performance at the end of the show, so please stay with us until the end. Let me introduce our guest.
Show out in public. Seem like we losing our country, but we gotta stand up for something, so this what it comes to. Every video I see on my conscience, I got power now, I gotta say something, corrupt the police.
Charlene Constellation is a technology entrepreneur who founded the world's first smart lock box for cars holding your license plate, called the Big Vault. She is currently the founder and CEO of Big Technologies Incorporated. Big, a Silicon Valley-based technology company renowned for its smart lockbox, the Big Vault, providing remote access to cars for purposes such as in-car delivery, roadside assistance, and enabling seamless mobility services. Charlene is constantly innovating in the dynamic and high-tech sphere by advancing mobility services, smart lockbox, and IoT for cars.
Hi, Charlene. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Sarah. My pleasure. It's been very exciting speaking with you on the other event. So that's why, I've enjoyed speaking with you. When you asked me about this, I said, go for it. No questions asked.
Yes, for Global Future Mobility.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about leadership.
Exciting. That's my full-time job.
Yes, I know.
Oh, that's interesting. A lot of people are still asking me, what do you really do? I think I have an answer. I have an answer for now. Yeah, it's leadership.
It's leadership, right? That's what you do. A lot of people still ask what you do. Okay, that's weird, but it's okay. What's most important to your organization? Is it mission or core values or vision?
I would say, and that's a very interesting question. And nobody has ever asked me that. But okay, I think it's everything is important, of course, but I would tell you that the most important of those three is core values. And let me tell you why. We have a vision. We also have a mission. The vision is more of a long term, and the mission is actually more of a short term that is in combination with the vision. But really, there through getting through and achieving that vision or mission, things happen. A lot of tests, a lot of challenges will be put to us. And sometimes we don't know what to do. There's really no answer to it. And the things that really help us be grounded and go forward is my team and I, especially me. I come back to what our core values is. And through that, it then guides us to proceed to that vision and mission. So yeah, I mean, good first question. You're putting me to work.
That's the guiding compass, right? Because like what you mentioned, even though you planned and you strategize, there are just things that you cannot foresee and challenges that you could never imagine happen, and that's the guiding compass. That's the first thing you go to, the core values.
Correct.
And how do you communicate these core values to your team?
So at the moment, we are not that big yet. But the very most important part are the co-founders and the leadership team, right? The way we hired is we don't rush into things. We actually vet the person through its personality and the core values. We work with them for the past months and put them on a probation period. And if we understand, regardless, and I've done this so many times, I've had co-founders and leaders, executive team, who is, I would say, probably very talented in their area of expertise. But if their core values and their personality and perspective do not align with my values and my co-founders' values, we have to let them go. So from the very get-go, we already vet that the leadership needs to have an alignment with those core values, and then because in the near future, they will be the ones who will be making those hires. So the first 10, 50, at least we get to already have that established, and then they can then just grow through that because we've already started that from day one.
Just yesterday, Hanis was interviewing Anima Kosai for another show, and they were talking about integrity. And Hanis was asking, what's the best way or one way to instill integrity in the company? Where does it start? And Anima said it first starts with leadership. It starts with the leader, top bottom. When the leader is in charge and has integrity, it will shape the culture of the company. And so it's the same what I feel like you're talking about core values. So integrity is one of the core values. And when the leader isn't communicating the core value or integrity, the staff would suffer because they would probably feel uncomfortable about the decision, but then they don't know what to say, or they don't know how to say, or they might lose their job.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every decision that we make, means especially in the leadership team, involves a lot of areas. And the number one thing, as at least for me as a guiding principle, as long as I'm still the CEO of the company, then that would be the biggest, decision making capabilities that I can have, the integrity. And it always puts to test in every decision that I have to make. And when I communicate that and very transparent with my team, the reasons why I make this decision, it becomes kind of like an unspoken core values. And they already know. I mean, that is Charlene that would not do. But that is Charlene would be approved of. So yeah, that's how it works in my team right now.
Do you set aside specific times to cast vision to your employees and other leaders in your team?
Mm-hmm.
So do you set any specific times to discuss and set your vision or your core values? Or is it just unspoken and they just see it?
It is, for me, it's unspoken. I probably, in my case, before being in this leadership position, in my very early young age, I'm very grateful to be able to already lead. My first job, I was leading 15 people. And I do not know how I got there, but I'm always thankful. I learned a lot from there. So probably a decade of my career, I always have dealt and lead people. So I've learned through that. And most of the time, you really do not want to tell them or mandate them to do what they need to do or what they have to be. The way I do it, I indirectly influence them by actually acting the way I want them to act. And it doesn't have to be anything like I need to be early in the office, but I set the example. I set the highest standards to the point that they even feel bad about themselves if they don't do the same thing that I do, because come on, I'm doing this. So I am that type of leader.
So they would step up by themselves.
Correct. And even sometimes they feel bad. They think that they are not keeping up because they think they're not doing more. But I said, no, this is great. But this is something that worked for me in the past. And I tell you, Sarah, I still have people from the past who still want to work for me. And even then, I can't hire them anymore because the company's not looking. Yep. I still mentor them. So, it's something that have worked.
I think that's definitely a good sign when people still want to work with you, and that means they trust you.
Very important, yes.
So as an organization gets larger, there's a tendency for the institution to dampen the inspiration. How do you keep this from happening?
Can you elaborate on that?
As an organization gets bigger, so let's talk about Big Vault, which is sort of starting out. There's a tendency for the institution, for the culture, for the society, to dampen the inspiration. So maybe you won't get as creative, or maybe you get bigger funding, then you get comfortable. How do you prevent this from happening?
That is a great question. And I have seen a lot of organizations, from startups, from corporates, from the very successful ones like Amazon. And I do work with them. They're good friends of mine. And one thing I have learned and I would want to aspire by is that their leaders do not really change the way they instill the values from the leadership team up until to like thousands or, eh, hundreds of thousands of employees. So I would say that I would still instill creativity and really encourage the team to provide in a way that how I have done it when we were still, five leadership team with co-founders. They will be treated the same. They will be compensated and have different in incentives with the encouragement to be creative and participate to better the organization. The least thing that I want to happen with big is that we become comfortable and we're not innovating. We're not there, and we're not going to be just comfortable. We will have to be constantly innovating.
Being lenient, just resting on your laurels and thinking, oh, this is good. But then, as you know, all businesses that thrive, they never stay the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
What are the 3 most important core values to you as a leader?
Number one for me.
I'm glad how you are answering this so fast.
Yes, I mean, because it's right here, and it's funny because although it's unspoken, you kind of like make me speak it. And probably if my co-founders will be able to watch this, they will agree with me and say, oh, yeah, we have that too. So it has never been unspoken. It's never been spoken. So number one, integrity, meaning for me, I will always take the high road, do the right thing without screwing someone over. It has happened in the past so many times. I am comfortable losing a biggest deal or a huge opportunity as long as I am comfortable, as long as I'm doing the right thing. I'd rather lose that than not going through my integrity. So that's number one. Number two, transparency. I always say this to my team that regardless of how bad it looks, we need to know. You need to let me know. I need to let you know. That's number two. And third, one of our core values is really focus. Focus on the vision and the mission, because we are creative bunch of people. Even if my background is business, my other 2 co-founders are technical, we see an opportunity on every single thing because we're entrepreneurs. That's our dynamic. But if we do not have a core value, which is focus, we'll probably be building a bunch of stuff and then really not be able to execute our mission and vision. So those are the 3 main things that I deal with every day that really gets us to operate.
That's so interesting. I rarely hear people talking about focus as their core values, but I've been hearing so much about how focus is so important in this time and age where there's a lot of distractions. And as you mentioned, as a creative, you get so many ideas, this and that, and sometimes you get caught up chasing the next shiny object.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Right? And then whatever project that you're already working on gets forgotten or gets left behind. Focus, I forgot who said this, but I read somewhere, focus now is a luxury.
Exactly. And that's also one of our guiding principles, because again, right, when we go pursue our mission and vision, we come back to these 3 principles. Okay, are we doing the right thing? Yeah. Are we transparent? Not only to us as partners, but to our customers and to our investors. Yes. 3, okay, are we focusing on this vision? And so yes, it works hand in hand. And that's what the main 3 that we have been operating on for big.
How would you describe your leadership style?
Oh, that is tough.
Has anyone asked you this?
I think I lead by influence. you wouldn't even, well, my at least my co-founders and my team have told me that they feel comfortable because I am very authentic and genuine to them, and I say what it is by, letting them know what needs to be done, and for, the feedback. So, and on top of that, even if I have feedback with them, regardless of positive and negative, I then let them know the example or the solution, what needs to be done, by actually leading by influence.
That's important. Coming up with the solution and not just the problem. We have this problem, we have this problem. And they're like, okay, what do you want me to do about it? So come with the solution. Yeah, it's just then we could brainstorm together.
Yes.
Just now you mentioned about you hiring people. You take your time when you hire.
Yep.
This is something that I've made a mistake in myself as a leader or just as a business person. I hired someone too fast, so it was just for an event, for a short project, and then I did some online research, but I never met the person. So I spoke to the person on the phone, but I never met the person, and then I hired the person. But then when I did meet this person for the so-called brief, and then me and my partner, we realized, this person isn't a fit. But then I felt bad. I didn't feel like I wanted to say, oh, we don't want you anymore. So we did hire this person. But in the end, for the project, it was only for a couple of days. But the person wasn't a fit, wasn't performing. We should have hired someone else. So that was a lesson that definitely something that I learned, which leads me to my next question. What is one mistake that you witness other leaders making frequently?
Other leaders making frequently. Okay.
Since you're in Silicon Valley, I bet.
Yeah.
Do you see a pattern?
I mean, that's the thing. There's so much of them. But okay, let me let me get one. I would say, especially in Silicon Valley, is the inability to trust their team. I have seen it a lot. Meaning, and I have a lot of co-founders. I have a lot of founder friends, that we go lunch, dinner, and coffee, and we talk about our own garbages in the in the company,
Okay.
and some of them are really personal, that we talk, that this is the kind of like the uniformity that I see, right? When I ask why is that happening, why do you think so, and then I have my own conclusion because of the whole events that have been going on. So what I see is that there are so much, especially in the stage of a small company or startup, the company is their baby, or they're so emotionally attached, and to the point that they think they have to do every single thing when they have two co-founders, or teams and other leaderships. And that is, number one, that's inhumanly possible, and number two, it's not productive. Well, number three, it's not efficient too, right? But really, if you really talk to them more often, you ask them, why can't you delegate? You have 2, 3, 4 people. It really boils down to inability to trust the other team members. You see what I mean? And I have seen that a lot. And to the point that I have probably, for me, in my case, I wanted to make sure. That's why I hired very, very thorough and robust, because this is something long term. Once I made that commitment, I should be comfortable wherever I am in the world with no internet connection. You cannot find me. I can't be contacted. Well, okay, of course, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The business and our business is going to go on, and you guys are talented enough that nothing will fall through. That's how I think about it. So yeah, I mean, if these entrepreneurs, they have their own team members, but really the trust is not there. So how can you really move as a team? And then at the end of the day, they would complain about being burnt out because they're shouldering everything. So yeah, okay.
Seems like you were ranting just now.
I am, because the same. I mean, you'll be surprised, Sarah. The same problem and 20 different founders.
So it's a bit of, I think it's a mix of being a perfectionist, and then it gets mixed into being micromanaging, or what, no, or wanting to control
Yes,
everything, because I think for a lot of owners or leaders, they feel like, oh, I can do it right.
yes,
I can do it the best way, which maybe they can, but maybe they don't have the time or they don't have the bandwidth. So they might be
correct,
spreading themselves too thin,
correct.
which is why they need to delegate.
And you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, Sarah. From the very beginning, I think I was like that, but I have learned that, okay, regardless of how I think I can do this way better, Charlene, you have hired a really talented team. Even if their work is very different from you, it doesn't mean it's lesser better. So that's kind of my perception now. And it has worked. It has worked because there are times that I have great ideas, but I then encourage my team members to really, okay, hey, let me know what is your idea about this. And then things that I've never really thought about, and it's really good. I just really need to be able to trust and be able to let go and let them make that decision because they are in charge of that.
So it's also an opportunity of growth for them to grow and contribute more for the company, and they could actually do more. And this is also why multidisciplinary um, work environment is good. So like what you mentioned, probably not in the same field, not not the same area of expertise, but then if you consult them, because they're not in that field, they might come up with some innovative solutions, something that you've never, something out of the box, something you've never heard of. So it's actually an opportunity when you share your problems or you delegate the task to your team.
Correct. And I mean, I tell you, it is tough it is tough if you are not trained that way, and if you really don't get to change your mindset about how these things will work and trust your team, it will be tough for founders and leaders.
So if there's one characteristic that you think all leaders should have, what would it be?
Integrity.
Because that would shape the entire company, right? And the core values.
Yes, and the thing is, for me, doing business is about dealing and trusting people. I will not do business with people that they don't value their integrity. It's something that is really valuable to me.
I think it's because you realize and you know that even though on the surface or at that moment that deal looks good, but you know it's short term, and you know it will be short lived because there's no integrity. So even though it might look good at that time, but you know long term it wouldn't work or it would fail. That's why you feel uncomfortable. And also I think the feeling that you have whenever you meet someone or you get to know them to embark on a project, and even the feeling that you have or your intuition, I think that's the first guide from God or from universe telling you whether there's something iffy about this. You should give more time or spend more time with the person and discover and just find out more instead of just rushing into yes, 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 and taking every opportunity that that's presented to you.
Correct.
Can you name a person who has a tremendous impact on you as a leader? Maybe someone who has been a mentor. Why and how did this person impact your life?
I cannot say specific one person. I would say at least three. The reason being, these three people, they are currently my advisors right now from the past companies and until here in through here as well at Big. They have different personalities that make me who I am today. So, these three specific individuals, they are our advisors and my personal mentors. They have areas that have both vulnerability, weakness, and strength. And they're all tap into those areas. And they have entirely always different opinions on every single thing. And that's what makes me who I am today. So even if I listen to them, they become my sounding board, they have my opinion, I still come back, oh, Bill, Mary Lou told me this. Does this in alignment with my values? And if it's yes, great. But these are people that have really shaped me and have improved my leadership skills, because they've done it in the past so many times, and they're also wonderful people.
So the three of them all have different views most of the time about something. And even
Yeah.
when you listen to these three different views or perspective, and then you go through another filter, which is yourself.
Correct. And I mean, let me tell you, these advisors are coming from different backgrounds, women and men, and American and Asian. So, I mean, you cannot get more different than that. So just the personality alone, being the man who always wants me to keep fighting, keep pushing, just go and move. But my other advisor, who's a woman, she's always the one to let me know, okay, Charlene, you've seen all these aspects on a high level. Now take a step back and breathe and look at it in a perspective of your values and your mission. So these are two different things. And
Opposite.
Very opposite. Yeah, right. But that's something that actually work both. I can do mixture. I mean, nobody really tells me which one to follow, but I do mixtures of them. So the other gentleman who told me, just Charlene, just go for it, do it. And then the other lady who told me, okay, step back. And okay, so the way I would mix it is that I will give myself a deadline. I will do step back and just look at it in a high level perspective. And in couple of days, I go for it and make a decision.
I'm just digesting everything that you said, because you just gave a really good point. I know it looked like I was zoning out. I wasn't zoning out. I was really digesting what you said.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, go for it.
Which is what you mentioned, which is you set yourself a deadline.
I do because I mean, if you look at this, right? If I follow the gentleman, I would make the decision now without thinking about the high level perspective or even researching and looking at it more with the fresh eyes. But if I take the advice of my other advisor, who's a woman, I would probably taking my sweet time and just look at it in a perspective that, okay, let me see and let me step back. It may take me weeks or even months and not make a decision.
Or years.
Right? Yes. But my job is to always make a tough decision that will then eventually has a longer term vision and benefit for the company. So if I mix them together, all right, let me just step back, give myself a couple of days, and need to make that decision in 2 days. So yeah.
I shall remember that, and I shall do that.
No worries. I mean, go for it. I mean, you can always ask me. You can always reach out to me. I would be happy to.
Okay. I hope it was recorded just now what you said, because there was a glitch.
Yes, you disappeared for like 2 seconds, but you're
back. Okay. All right, Charlene. Thank you for talking about leadership. Now we're gonna move on to something a bit lighter.
Okay. Please.
So you can relax and coax into your bedtime.
I know, right? But I like the way you did it. You started with with a very serious topic first, and then made it lighter. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So we're gonna play budding questions. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and you're gonna have to answer instantly whatever comes to your mind.
Okay, go for it.
What's the weirdest smell you have ever smelled?
Vinegar.
Vinegar. But you use it, right, in cooking, or you don't cook?
I do cook, but that was like the weirdest smell I've ever smelled. But you get used to it. But yeah, for me,
It is weird. It's flat, but it's pungent at the same time. I don't know how
It-
to explain.
I mean, it will follow you. I mean, okay, maybe not just. All right, okay. Let me. Can I answer that way
Yes.
better? There are types of vinegar. There is like cane vinegar that's sweet. I'm talking about the Filipino kind of vinegar, like white vinegar that is just so strong that you better, if you haven't smelled it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. Maybe I haven't, but I do know the white vinegar. The white vinegar is the one that's most used here in Malaysia.
Yes.
It's called cuka buatan. Buatan means man-made. So it's man-made vinegar. I never knew what's the ingredient. It's so weird because every time I buy groceries, every time I usually would look at the ingredient just to see which one is better. It doesn't matter what brand it is. It just matters what's the ingredient. But
What's the
somehow I
ingredient?
never checked what's the ingredient of vinegar.
Me too, but yes, I mean, for here in America, their vinegar smells sweet and okay, but the white vinegar that my family and I grew up using, it's strong. But yeah, I mean, I'm used to it now. But the weirdest, when I first smell it, I was like, wow, it does not leave my nose for hours.
Okay. If you could make one wish right this second, what would it be?
One wish: peace for everyone. Peace.
Yes, during this time, I understand. What's the best Wi-Fi name you've seen?
What?
What's the best Wi-Fi name that you've seen?
The best? The best? Really never thought about it.
You don't go checking. Some people have really weird Wi-Fi names.
Yeah, but they're not the best.
Okay, then what's the weirdest then?
The weirdest that I have seen, at least for me, is that they're using the name FBI. And it really catches your attention. I was like, am I going to connect to the FBI's Wi-Fi? That is weird. And I was in a coffee shop that time. So that is weird.
I bet it was just
Or
someone.
maybe it is the FBI. We don't know. But yeah, definitely something that I wouldn't connect to.
Maybe they're going with the plan. What's the strategy where you just come as you are. So they're just saying it's FBI because what do you call it? Cross psychology. Reverse psychology. Then people think, oh, this must not be FBI. So I shall connect to this Wi-Fi.
But isn't that weird? So yeah, it is weird.
I think I don't connect to public Wi-Fi. I try not to. What are the unwritten rules of where you work? Or maybe at Silicon Valley, what are the unwritten rules
Of
of where you work or at Silicon Valley?
unwritten rules. It depends on different people, but I think for people that I don't even do is that they try to work 24/7. Like they would be there from 6 a.m. to even 6 a.m. the next day without going home and showering. And for me, I think if it works for them, great, but I'm a human being. It doesn't matter how long or how long I would work. What matters is my health, my sanity, because that leads me to making better decisions at the right time. So that's like, I think that's the unwritten rules that people have been doing in Silicon Valley.
Which is the unwritten rule is hustle, hustle, hustle,
Work 24/7
work
and
nonstop.
you burn out. Yeah.
I think it just works short term.
because like you mentioned, when your body doesn't recharge, people, I think a lot of people forget this. When you want to perform your best, or when you want to become a high performer, it's not just one aspect.
Exactly.
It's holistic. It's your physical, your spiritual, your mental. So you have to work out and you have to relax, and then you would be able to focus and churn out all these great ideas. But when you're sleep deprived, and
Exactly.
that's when people opt in for substitutes or substances
Yeah.
to boost their energy, and then it's a cycle. Then they get caught, then they crash.
Correct, correct. And yes, I mean, that's, some people don't communicate about it, but that's the normal here. And for me, doesn't work like that. Not just for me, even my team. I always encourage them, look, you don't have to be up until 8 p.m. But for goodness sake, I sleep at 6. So go sleep. And if I see you still working until 12 a.m., okay, all right. I mean, that's that. So,
That's something that also my first boss at my first job uh, sh- um, shared with me also. So I thought that's really cool of her. When I worked at this theme park, and I remember she said, because we in our team, I was working in the content department, and we had graphic designers, and they would just stay on the computer and be last for hours and hours, and she would say, "Stop it! Stop! It's 5. You could always just continue tomorrow. Since it's not approaching the deadline, just stop, go home, relax, and yeah." And I think when I first started working, and I thought, as a fresh graduate, oh, I have to work, I should stay in late. That shows commitment. And no, your commitment would show in your work when you've done it. How good it is doesn't matter how long it takes.
absolutely. And yes, for those people who have worked with me in the past and the ones that are still working with me, they know. So I don't even ask, how long have you worked on this? It doesn't really matter to me if you work on this for years or a day, but what the quality is the one that would really impress me. So yeah, doesn't impress me if you're always on your computer the whole day. You can anything you want and work for an hour as long as you deliver with great results.
Okay, the final question. This is a very serious question. What's the best type of cheese?
Cheese. Huh. I like blue cheese.
Pardon?
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese. Here in Malaysia, blue cheese isn't a common cheese that people eat. People rarely
Why?
eat blue cheese because
Why
it's
is
stinky.
exactly? It is stinky, but if you just don't breathe, just put it into your mouth and it tastes good.
I like blue cheese now, and I like to eat it with burger. But before this, I remember when I was younger, like I mentioned, it's not a common cheese, so my mom never fed us
Ah,
blue cheese. So I remember when I think I was 11 or 12, and then they served, and we were at this steakhouse, and they served chips, French fries, I think you call it. So, um, French fries with cheese, and when it came, I said, "What is this? What is this weird sock smell? Why do I smell sock?"
it is, yes. And the smell is really weird. I mean, same here. I did not grow up eating blue cheese because we did not have that in the Philippines. But when I have moved in America, I was introduced to it. Oh, it is so good. I mean, I basically eat everything with blue cheese.
Okay, Charlene, thank you so much. It's the end of our chat. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, and I
Oh,
hope
I enjoyed this, Sarah, and thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
I really hope a lot of people would watch this and a lot of people would benefit from this. This show is meant for young girls. I haven't done a survey yet. I don't know who's watching my videos. I'm still fairly new, but I do hope young girls or girls who are watching this heard what you talked about leadership, use the tips that you mentioned, trusting your team, and delegating. Okay,
Perfect.
that's
Yes.
all. Thank you, Charlie. Thank
Thank you for watching. Please share with us in the comments what's one mistake that you make when leading your team. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Please enjoy the special performance. See you next week.
Protest and growing national outcries continue over the death of George Floyd.
Last night, people protesting in Minneapolis escalated as demonstrators were lashed by tear gas and rubber bullets.
The main message here is that they want to see those officers involved.
They want to see those officers arrested.
Trade my 4x4 for a GC3, ain't no more free little Steve. I gave him chance again, I even told him please. I find it crazy the police will shoot you and know that you dead but still tell you to freeze. Fucked up, I seen what I seen. I guess that mean hold him down if he say he can't breathe. It's too many mothers just grieving, they killing us for no reason. Been going on for too long to get even. Throw us in cages like dogs and hyenas. I went to court and they sent me to prison. My mama was crushed when they said I can't leave. First I was drunk, then I sobered up quick when I heard all that time that they gave to Talib. He got a life sentence plus. We just some products of our environment. How the fuck they gon' blame us? You can't fight fire with fire, I know, but at least we can turn off the flames some. Every color person ain't dumb, and all whites not racist. I be judging by the mind and heart, I ain't really in the face. Fuck up the way that we living is not getting better, you gotta know how to survive. Crazy, I had to tell all of my loved ones to carry a gun when they going outside. Stay in the mirror whenever you drive, overprotective, go crazy for mine. You gotta pay attention to the sign, seem like the blind following the blind. Thinking about everything that's going on, I boost security up in my home. I'm with my kind of, they right or they wrong. I call him now, he'll pick up the phone and it's 5 in the morning, he waking up on it. Tell him wherever I'm at, then they coming. I see blue lights, I get scared and start running. That shit be crazy, they supposed to protect us. Swords and handcuffs and arrest us. Why they go home at night, that shit messed up. Knowing we needed help, they neglect us. One of them who gon' make them respect us. I can see in your eye that you fed up. Fuck around, got my shot, I won't let up. They know that we a problem together. They know that we can storm anywhere. It's bigger than black and white. It's a problem with the whole way of life. It can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here. We done had a hell of a year. I'ma make it count while I'm here. God is the only man I fear. Fuck it, I'm going on the front line. He gon' bust your ass if you come past that gun line. You know when the storm go away, then the sunshine. You got put your head in the game when it's crunch time. I want all my sons to grow up to be monsters. I want all my daughters to show out in public. Seem like we losing our country, but we gotta stand up for something, so this what it comes to. Every video I see on my conscience, I got power now, I gotta say something. Corrupted police been the problem where I'm from, but I'd be lying if I said it was all of them. I ain't do this for the trend, I don't follow them. Altercations with the law had a lot of them. People speaking for the people, I'm proud of them. Stick together, we can get it up out of them. I can't lie like I don't rap about killing and dope, but I'm telling my youngest to vote. I did what I did cause I didn't have no choice and no hope. I was forced to just jump in and go. This bullshit is all that we know, but it's time for a change. Got time to be serious, no time for no games. Ain't taking no more, let us go for them chains. God bless they soul, every one of them names. It's bigger than black and white. It's a problem with the whole way of life. It can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here. We done had a hell of a year. I'ma make it count while I'm here. God is the only man I fear. They training officers to killers, then shooting protesters with these rubber bullets. They regular people, I know that they feel us. These scars too deep, they heal us. What happened to COVID? Nobody remember, it ain't making sense. I'm just here to vent. It happened to one of your people, it's different. We get it, the system is wicked, just learn how to pick it. Knowledge is power, I swear I'm a witness. I know that I'm gifted, I won't go too deep, cause I'm scared they'll get me. Ain't scared to admit it, some shit I can't mention. It's people who can. Well, here's the chance, I won't take the stand, but I'll take a stand for what I believe. Must not be breathing the air that I breathe. You know that the way that I bleed, you can bleed. I never been a fan of police, but my neighborhood know I try to keep peace, so it's only right that I get in the streets. March for a reason, I just on GP. How people die for us to be free. Fuck do you mean? This was a dream. Now we got the power that we need to have. They don't want us with it, and that's why they mad. Yeah. It's bigger than black and white. It's a problem with the whole way of life. It can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here. We done had a hell of a year. I'ma make it count while I'm here. God is the only man I fear. It's bigger than black and white. It's a problem with the whole way of life. It can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here. We done had a hell of a year. I'ma make it count while I'm here. God is the only man I fear.